life.
Hello, Shinners. Welcome back to the Shin Dig podcast, where we get under the skin of the trials community. My name is Tom Hutley.
And my name's Matt Pengelly.
And today, special guest as always, going global on our global domination tour.
Yeah.
We're heading over to Denmark.
The wonderful friend of mine I met a few years ago now. They're all friends of me, of course. This is how we get them on the show. Let's give it up for JONAS KRISTIANSEN.
Yo.
Hi, JONAS.
Hey guys.
Thank you for coming along. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you guys.
Taking time out of your busy training schedule and studying and so on and so forth. So as we said, you are in the wonderful European country of Denmark. Whereabouts in Denmark are you specifically?
I'm in Aarhus, like the second biggest city. Like it's not that big actually, but it's the second biggest city of Denmark.
And how do you remember how we met, JONAS? I think I asked you this before. He's like vaguely. I do, but I'm seeing if you do.
Yeah. Well, I also do. Like, definitely do. Cologne Trials Jam.
Yes.
And you really remembered the time. Like I was more like I just knew I was young, but you were like really precise on that one.
Yeah. So just off air, we were just discussing it a little bit. 2013 or 12. Andre would confirm it more.
Yeah,
you were riding a
probably.
blue GU or something. You were 17 years old, and it was my first time to Cologne. Cut a long story short, I think Dre peer pressured you into coming out drinking with us at 17.
For sure. Yeah.
And probably one of the best nights of your life, right?
Yeah. The best actually.
It's kind of unsurprising, to meet Matt through any other means, I suppose. It's so weird, all these trials riders, but through drinking only.
Yeah, it seems to. Well, it didn't. Yeah, and I remember that weekend, Dre going out drinking really heavily, and then the next day waking up and doing pretty well in the competition. So, not that we condone any of that. Now, as this is obviously it's a trials podcast here, so we're going to talk a little bit about trials. Let's go all the way to the beginning with you, JONAS. Tell us sort of, how did you get the bug of trials from when you were younger?
Yeah, well, actually, I started going with my dad to motor trials. He was doing motor trials basically all the time I remember. So probably when I was 3 years old, when I could drive those unicycle, the free, how to call it,
balance
push bikes.
Balance bikes,
like
the scooter.
push bikes. Yeah. I went with him from that time, and just the moment I could get on any sort of bike, I just kind of tried to follow him on the hills and stuff like that. And actually I started riding motor trials when I was 10 years old or something. And it was on a big bike, just rolling around, following my dad. And then suddenly we just found out it's actually possible to do every day in the garden on a bike. And we got a bike, and ever since that it's just.
I mean, so it sounds like it's been a part of your life since, as far as you can remember, since your memories began.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
That might explain why he's definitely well above average on a bike.
But it always comes back to that conversation we always have on this, how do you stay motivated through that? Because if it's been part of your life, it must be so easy to kind of go, well, I could drop this, or why do I need to get so good at this? But we're going to find out what is keeping you going. What is, because you are at world level, for people that don't know, if you're not following in
I think he's a 12th in the world rankings. Come at us if you want to change that, but we're going with that.
8 times champion at Denmark as well. So what keeps you going?
Well, for I think for me it's just that I basically every time I go on the bike, I'm looking forward to it, and it's just fun. That's the key thing for me. It's always fun. Of course, there are days when it's less fun, because it is an elite thing for me also. So it's a training, it's training also. But
you're taking it quite seriously. I know that it is for fun, but there is a level of seriousness to it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, the majority of the time, it's fun for me to ride the bike, and that's why I like it.
Well, that's the most important one, I have to say. And how are you keeping the balance of that too, though? So you saying you really enjoy the actual training themselves, or is there an element of riding you prefer without the pressure? Let me ask a better question. Do you prefer to train or compete?
I think I found out during this like COVID that what I missed the most was actually going like this social part of going away. So yeah, not necessarily competing in itself, but like to go out, like, you know, training with all
everything that
my
comes
friends.
with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then again, I just came back from my first international competition, and like, yeah, well, 2 years feels like, or maybe actually is.
Yeah.
And I did really miss it. So I guess it's everything that comes with it, but I do it because I also want to like compete, you know. So it's kind of a like everything kind of.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think I just think that some people's outlook can be slightly different. I feel like the pressure of that, but I can understand from your point of view, absolutely, what comes with the pressure of the competitions is all your friends, everyone's meeting up and going on these big group things, which is sort of like what we do, but on a less competitive kind of manner,
more fun sort of way.
Yeah.
So let's kind of paint a picture for our listeners. What does the trials scene then look like in Denmark? Because you mentioned, of course, getting together with a group or a gang. You know, the other side of trials really than just the sport itself. What does it look like on a day-to-day basis? Because on some of your clips, it sometimes looks like you're just by yourself in the middle of nowhere with a tripod.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the trial scene in Denmark is basically based around Viborg, like this big indoor park.
What was it called? Sorry, Jonas?
Viborg. So
Viborg.
like
That's it. Yep. There you go.
Yeah,
exactly. Just so everyone can hear. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like this big indoor trials park. And that's basically where everyone's riding. And I'm living like 1 hour away from there. So that's why a lot of times I am riding by myself. But then again, like I try to go there 2 or 3 times every week. And it is, when I go there, it feels like a group ride, you know, because there we are like riders at kind of same level, pushing each other, having fun. Like some days we just like kind of jamming on 9 pellets or anything, you know, it can be like this street ride kind of thing. Or we are like, you know, doing sections like proper competition training.
Yeah, and I've noticed that with some of the European riders in your fun sessions, I would say in Cologne, you know, they'll map out 3 gates and literally go like, here's the gates. Instead of us going like, here's a line. You know, these guys really are looking at it from a little bit more of a competition perspective. And I didn't really notice that till riding with you. And I forgot your friend's name now, who we were with at the time. But just spending those 2 days realizing like, so you guys are having fun with gates. Kind of, you know, we just don't do that as much here. But I think that has something to do with the fact that, like you say, Vorb, you've got a really good trials park, you know, and that's kind of limits the selves. Now, how often do you like to go out and ride street and find other lines, or?
Well, the fun thing is that I like maybe 2 years ago, there was a guy who used to live in Viborg who moved to my city here in Aarhus. And he is, I don't know if you've seen him but he is really powerful, like, you know, side hops 150 and everything. And
big.
I go street riding with him because, you know, street is always like just going big kind of, at least for when I'm riding with him. So it's a really nice way to just like push myself to try these huge jumps that he's doing. So yeah, I actually quite often go street riding with him.
That's interesting that you've just said that. So he's like, I do street riding for like power moves. Because obviously you within a trials part, you can be technical and very precise. Interesting to think. So maybe that's why Damon's just so powerful. It's all he rode was street. That's all it is power, right?
Yeah.
And how often are you actually riding? I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier to kind of keep on form, I suppose.
Well, that really depends on like where I am in the season, you know. Like if it's like winter, I would say I'm riding like 4 times a week, and then I'm 4 times a week in the gym also. But if it's more close to the season, I'm probably cutting a little bit down on the gym and then focusing more on riding. Yeah, so it's a lot like, like in periods, and if we go training camps in Spain, for example, like when we could do that before COVID, then we're like riding 2 times every day, basically, for a week or something. So it depends like where in the season we are.
And that's taking up a lot of your time, Are you also, I know that you're also studying during that. What's the balance there you've got with your career / studying, work and so on? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, I think in general, trials riders are quite lucky to be, we're individuals. We don't like depend on a team or anything or have these schedules that we need to train on. So I can like arrange my trainings really well with my studies. So yeah, that's actually also why I started riding streets, because then I just take my bike and I go to the spot instead of having to drive somewhere, So it saves times for me. When I have like a full day of studying, I can just, when I'm back, I just take my bike and go out and ride some street. So it is a balance, but with trials, as we are individual athletes, it just makes it easier.
I never really thought about that, because you do, like you say, you can just go, I can ride whenever I want. But any other, like a lot of elite disciplines, if you play football for a team or whatever, you have to all organise at the same time. So that has to come first, and then your studying then becomes second. But obviously you could then say, well, you know what, I'm going to study first, then trials will come second, or whatever order it may be.
It's a great element of flexibility, I suppose, being that individual themselves. And are you training towards competitions when you're going out, working towards that? Have you got main goals that you're aiming for?
Yeah, I do.
See, because I know that some others, they're not like that at all. They literally will just compete for those reasons, to be in those social situations, and might not necessarily be, I don't want to use the word not taking it seriously, because obviously they are, but there's an element of seriousness, I think, which you go too far, you can take the fun out of it. And for those who don't know, what sort of bike are you riding now? What are the backing sponsors that you've got supporting you?
Yeah, I'm at the moment I'm riding the Maestro Pro C, so I'm waiting for the new Pro X carbon bike. Like the Pro C is also a carbon bike. It's a nice one.
Yes,
I like
mean, if you haven't seen, Andre Burton's got the 26-inch version, and you're waiting for the 20-inch.
The 20-inch, yeah.
I mean, wow, they
are just beautiful looking bikes. Everyone who's seen them, I'm like, oh man, it's so cool.
You haven't seen it? Yeah, go and check it out. There's a couple. You've had a couple of Maestros actually, which is what I wanted to go into a little bit now. My favourite one being that like purpley blue colour one. That was amazing
with the forks and stuff.
But what was your favourite? How many of you had? What was your favourite there of the Maestros specifically?
Yeah, well, I've had, like, color-wise, I've only had the silver that I have now, and then this purple blue one. And yeah, well, the purple blue one was really my favorite also. For sure. Like, it's, I don't know, it's just something about it. Like, it also, the fact that it changes kind of color if you're riding a darker place or like a sunny place. It's just, it was really cool.
Because you also ride, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you ride dual disc, right? You've not got the front Magura.
Yeah.
Talk us through that, because everyone's like front Magura now. Like, have you not been tempted to switch or
He just says OCD.
Well,
go on.
No. I have tried front Magura for like 2 years when I was riding clean. But I think I broke a fork or something, and then I had to go back to the disc. And immediately I was like, why did I ever change?
Oh, really?
Your style does suit a disc much better. I met you on a dual disc, and no, 100%, mate. What was that difference when you're saying, oh, wow, I prefer this? Is it based on the modulation, the control, or?
Yeah, I think it's like a mix of those. Like the fact that the like Magura rim brake is just so, like on off.
Yeah.
And I'm just I was just used like for all when I rode, I've just used this like modulation, like slowly drive, like all this not having to be boom, boom, but I can like control it more with the front. And I don't know, it's just...
I call it...
Squilson. I'm just, in my head, my brain's going, Squilson.
We have we try and come up with all sorts of new trials, moves and names. I've just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I'm calling front Maggie and front disc digital and analog, because you got on and off with the Magura. So it's just that's the digital version of a trials bike. But when you've got the disc, you've got that analog where you've got all this minute changes.
It's odd, because in my mind I'd think that a disc would be digital because it seems more techy. Like,
but technically not. It's like the digital version is a Magura. You're like on, off, 0, 1.
Yeah.
But I always say it that I'm like, thanks, Jonas. He's got the same brakes on a bike. It's ridiculous to me. Another reason I run Maguiras on the rear. I don't like having different levers.
Yeah.
That sounds so mad. I get on your bike. I get on most people's bikes and I'm like, how do you ride?
Well, it weren't too bad recently because I had like an old HS33 and then like a Hope, and then about a similar sort of length, but then I've just gone to a Trial Tech and now I'm like, what is this piddly little Hope lever? It's like this big.
That's what I mean. I mean, do you think you'll always be dual disc, Jonas?
100% sure.
Yeah.
Like 100.
Yeah. Yeah. See, people stick to what they know, I suppose.
Yeah. I actually just talked when we were in Spain. Like I just came back from Spain with my team, and Tomasz Pekak, for example, he's also riding double disc, and we were like at the competition looking like, basically it's you, me, and Eloy Palau from Spain. We're basically the only riders riding double disc, And we're like, we gotta make like a team double disc or something,
Yes, I love that little team on a disc team. We've got to come up with a better name for that. Actually, I've seen some bad Shin Digs via a disc too recently. The name's got away from me, but somebody was wearing shin pads and a disc went into the top, just under their knee. Someone's going to say in the comments below and put a picture, but nasty. So that's what I'm saying. Now with a double disc, there's double the chance of you getting shinners from the disc.
Yeah. Shit.
Well, speaking of shin digs, actually, let's go into our quickfire round this bit early on now to get us some direction. So I don't know if you've heard of the questions before, Jonas. I know you've listened to some, but we'll fire them over and you give us your best possible answers. So first of all, what is your favourite spot to ride at, or as you would say, train at?
I think like all over the world where I've been is in Spain, like this natural spot called Llavaneres. So it's just like these huge, big rocks. That is probably my favorite place.
Was it called Llamaneres?
Yes. Yeah, Llavaneres,
Llavaneres, or in rocks in Spain, a natural spot.
Yeah. Big rocks in Spain. That's
big
the spot,
rocks in Spain.
Yeah. That's the spot.
And of course, I'm noting, of course it would be Jonas. You're just probably nailing all of the big moves. I'm not surprised, but that's a new one.
So that takes us on to our next question then. When you're at those big rocks, what is your move, your Jonas move that you just love doing?
I think I know the answer, but I'm going to see.
I would say like some run-up Frenchie.
Yes, rolling Frenchie is what I call them. But you were the first person I saw on a 20 in Germany who did one on like a skip. I remember you doing it thinking, that's a tap on a 20-inch. And
mid-air, like flying tap.
Yeah. So I'm so glad you said that answer anyway. Yes, Jonas. If you guys haven't seen Jonas do that, go and check out his Instagram right now. Go and check him do the rolling Frenchie, as I like to call it. Or if anyone has a better name, then let us know.
Like a flying French. It's weird, isn't it? Like, because you are just like so much speed and it's just going upwards and it just somehow just keeps you going.
And also, actually, now I think of it, if anyone knows why the hell it's called a Frenchie,
I thought it was because all the French riders used
maybe
to do
they did. It might be.
Is that what do you guys call it? Is it still a Frenchie over there?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I know the Spanish riders call it like a bum bum or something like that.
A bump.
Yeah, because you do like with the front, like bum bum, front, rear.
Ba-bang.
I can see, how we talk, and they go, oh yeah, just go bum bum, and then now they just can't do it. Did you do a bum bum?
Dush dush.
A bum bum? No, I did a dush dush. I did a dun dun.
I love it though when there's different words like this. It's like I've heard like people where they've tried like learning different languages and then have to, because obviously you think about the words that we use to describe trials moves. They're not like English like words, are they? Like when you think of like a tap and stuff like that, there's nothing in the dictionary that says, well, that's a tap. Maybe a bunny hop's probably the only thing that's quite translatable,
And
because
even
that's
then,
been around
we
so
don't
long.
ever really do that often.
So every other move, like, well, maybe side hop and that.
Right, I suppose you. Now I think about it. You tell a foreigner like, "Oh yeah, that's a tap." They're like, "What? Hot or cold tap?" Do you know what I mean? Just all these weird. I mean, English is like one of the most.
It'd be interesting to know how many just directly translate over.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting.
Anyway, on to the next one. As a typical Shin Dig style, we lost track. What's the rider that you're riding with that's getting you going, getting you motivated, and you're having a great time?
It's difficult to pick one, I would say.
You can pick more than one, because I know lots of people are going, oh,
Yeah.
So it's okay to have a group.
Maybe also like someone who maybe they got you into the sport, but it could be someone who like maybe you don't ride with them, but you feel like I want to be this person when I ride.
You might be picturing them when you ride, because I don't know if anyone else does that. I do that. I like picture someone in my head and
I pretend I'm you, Matt.
Yes, I've been waiting for that. Go on.
Yeah, well, I would say that I do spend a lot of time, like normally with, like Thomas Pekkaker and Samuel, for example. And I would say for me, like a mix of those two riders, like Samuel Hlavatý from Slovakia and Thomas Pekkaker. Do you know they're trainees riders? They are like world-class riders. Thomas has been world champion, and we're good friends, and they have a really high level. So I would say those two probably, and we train a lot together. So I would say those two push me, quite a lot and brings me to a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping you were going to say Thomas. Yeah, he's extremely powerful rider. And he's your team rider, might we add? People who didn't know, on the same team, training together, like that's
tell us a little bit more about that. I didn't know that until we got into the call. I'm going to be the naive, observer here, because if I didn't know, I'm sure there's plenty of other people that don't know. So, as you mentioned, obviously Thomas Pekkaker, obviously UCI champion on mod, but you two, you've got a team. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, well, I guess it started like because we were training a lot together, and it's basically like me, Thomas, Karol Servin from Poland, and Samuel.
How does that work? Because like obviously you're training a lot together, but you're all in different countries, so it's not as easy as me being able to just meet up people down the street.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
No. Yeah. Well, the thing is that the training part, like Karol, he actually makes programs for us. And it sounds maybe like a bit weird, like programs for trials, but it's actually written programs for your trial session. So kind of like an online personal trainer for the bike,
Yeah.
So he writes like description of like, today you're going to train this kind of, like, let's say it's like power day, but you got to like these techniques, something like that. So he like sends a weekly plan, for our sessions, and we give him feedback and stuff like this. And then we have like online calls talking about like how do we feel, and like discussing how the week's been and stuff like this. And then of course in a normal season we meet quite a lot during training camps, and it could be Spain, Poland, everywhere basically. So here we like kind of intensify this training, and after this we know more like what to work on later,
Yeah. So you're working on you're getting given like the same things essentially, in terms of exercises, I would say, and then I guess together you compare and
so like you do them individually, and then when you get to then meet up in those training sessions where you all come together, you can sort of really see what the results of that are. Is that kind of what you're alluding to?
Yeah. Like as said, we are all individuals, so we have weaknesses and like strong sides that are different, each of us. So we have like points we need to work more on, and that's different, like between us. But when we go together, like we kind of, like you said, like kind of like compare and see where we are. Yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, obviously having someone to train with is very important. I feel that can motivate you and do that. Is there an element of, healthy competition, like a bit of, as we like to say in England, banter between the two? Are you guys kind of pushing each other a little bit, like, nah, you can't do that? What's that kind of dynamic there?
Yeah, I would say, like you say, like healthy competition between us. Yeah, for sure. Because it's like, damn, he did it. I gotta try it, or like I gotta do it. Or he didn't do this. Maybe I can do it. Let's try something like this for sure. And we push each other, like you say, like, and also even, let's say, maybe not competition wise, but if I can't do something, but I know like Thomas is really trying it, I'm also there, like, come on, man, you can do it. So it is like a team that helps each other, even though, especially me, Thomas and Samuel, we ride the same category. We are competitors, but
so it's more important to beat him than anyone else, really.
No, actually not. Actually not. No, actually not. It's that's the thing for me. I found out that trials, competing wise, has to be for me really all about myself. If I start thinking too much, like during the competition, oh shit, he's doing really well, I gotta beat him, I gotta do it better. Then it goes wrong. So
that's the old really competition
individual for me.
Yeah, mentality, isn't it? Where it's like when people say, "Oh, if you're trying to focus on results beyond your control, so external people, like I'm going to beat them, beat them." Yeah, you never will. You can't. But if you say to yourself, "I'm going to ride as best as I can to my abilities," then they say you have a much better. I've never put that into practice, but it sounds like it could work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you're running a race, you don't want to look to the left; you'll slow down. Right, that kind of I guess
you focus on your own performance. Yes, that's a real good mindset to have.
Yeah, just seeing that a lot of well-known riders and riders that have done successful riders generally have had that influence, or I want to say competition, but in like that healthy, like having that person that you oh my gosh, he's just done that. Oh, okay, now I have to, like an element of pressure. It's like healthy peer pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't think I could ever put it into practice when it really comes down to kind of street, because then it's not serious. You don't, just the amount of being silly and fun and making it a laugh rather than an outcome.
Yeah, I see that.
Right. Well, there's one thing I want to make sure we don't miss.
Yeah, I'm literally about to bring this up. I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
It's
no idea what you're going into now. No idea.
It's okay.
You, Jonas, you are. I think
I've got the original image.
Someone might correct us, but probably the original.
I think this is the original image. So
the
anyway,
first trials meme.
If anyone, people who don't really know, there's
been a few pages of like on Instagram of different trials memes that have kind of done okay, little memes, but this is kind of like the most prominent one. I'm sure many people have seen this image, but if you haven't,
it's not that one.
You've got to see this.
Okay. The internet being the amazing place it is.
I think this is part of it. It's not the full
the full image, is it?
No. We're just trying to load this up on the Zoom call if you're listening to this. It will be on the Instagram if you want to see this as well, if you are listening to this.
Oh my goodness. Losing the wheel. Right, so
we're sharing our screen.
Just sharing it so Jonas can see it as well. Amazing. You're going to go into the detail, because I've forgotten when this is, where it is, at what time, and so forth. For the listeners who cannot see, we have just shown Jonas a picture of what is the best bale of, was this 2019?
Yes.
Okay. It's in the middle of a UCI Trials World Cup section.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to find the full image, but I only just hacked away it and just found this one. There are many memes about this. Yeah. Many memes. Yeah. Jason Lake made a few ones. I tried to call him earlier. I couldn't get through, but Jonas, tell us a little bit about this day. What's going on here in the picture of you falling off your bicycle?
Well, basically, first of all, you see the log is quite wet. So, I was trying to go up that log in the background. And I think somewhere near the end, my rear wheel slipped to the one side and my front wheel slipped to the other side. And yeah, I fell pretty hard down.
Pretty hard, yeah. This picture doesn't do it. There are. I couldn't get the memes.
The funniest thing about this photo is that your legs are like, and your arms are just fully like starfish. You're just fully open. Yeah, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, because I think I tried to like save myself on top, like kind of like clamped to the log, but then just ended up like rolling off it like this. Yeah, it wasn't nice. And the thing, something really nice came out of it, you know.
What's so perfect about it as well is both the observers are like, "Ooh." And who's in the background with the white helmet there? That's
Ian.
Oh, okay. And he's also gritting his teeth like, "Oh, that's bad." But yeah, do check it out. There's plenty of memes that have come from this.
I need the listeners who are listening now. If you're not at a computer now, you can't get to it. Later on at some point, please send me those memes. I need them on the Insta. There were so many good ones. Like, I think even there was a mixture of like memes of the year. There was one with Jonas, then the next one was Ryan Chris falling off his bike.
Actually, I think the best one I remember was this time, you know, we had this Maestro Trials Instagram page or something, and there was this I think like Yu-Gi-Oh cards or something, where like Kevin Leo was holding like me as a card, you know, and then the UCI responded with lock section or something. And then
See that? So they are out there. All of those memes, we want them. If you know where they are, send them through. Make some new ones. But there's definitely not enough memes in the trials world.
Someone did make it's like I effing love trials on Instagram. That was a great page.
I know that was like another
Spanish
was it some Spanish rider?
Yeah,
I have tried to bring that back a little bit. I brought some of the images to our Instagram just to kind of bring it more to light. But if you're out there, we need more trial memes. Toast bikes are pretty good for that too. Yeah. Often rinsing the Danny Mac world, but I think once they've maybe heard a few more interviews with all of you comp riders, that might allow them to go, let's start to take the piss out of them now, shall we? But what I was going to find out what year was it? It was 2019, and I think you were riding your favourite purple Maestro bike, right? Yeah. Can you remember what position was on that in that competition?
Mine.
Yes.
Shit.
I thought you were just going to be like,
yeah, I won that competition despite that.
Yeah, well, that's why I couldn't really remember. I wouldn't be surprised if
you
turn around and won.
No, I didn't. Like, I think this was my second section, and I even started the whole competition like fiving the first obstacle of another section, and then went straight to this section, and then had this fall. And then actually I recovered like kind of well to ride the rest of the competition like fine, like with a nice level. But the problem is that when up the first two sections in a strong field like that, you're just like way down the order.
Of course,
everything
doesn't boost your confidence.
Yeah, because she was holding up a score that said 40 on it, so obviously you already got the points.
You must have got Did you? You got the points through the gate, even falling off. That happened.
That's the old Matt Pengelly technique. Fall through the gate.
Well, that's it. If you know you're not going to make it, all I'm just thinking like, well, if you dive through the gate with not knowing what's going to happen on the other end, you're still going to get the points.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
At any point, I mean, it's obviously not going to happen anytime soon, but were we going to see you again, perhaps coming to the UK? Because I think, when was the last time you were over this side?
I think London Trials Battle.
Yeah, it did.
Also 19? Or?
Was I commentating that one? I was.
Yeah.
Yes, so that would have been the last time we actually saw each other. And no, I must say, I guess I thought you might maybe come over and... join the old road trip that we had that Steve Rogers was organising. I don't know if you were lined up for that or not. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it was definitely on my in my calendar for sure.
Right.
Like we and I think especially when I'm riding with my like friends here in Denmark, we always talk about, hey man, did you see the last Shin Dig street ride, you know, and we're like, fuck, it looks so fun.
Yes!
We gotta go ride some street with them, you know.
Oh, fantastic.
So we really want to want to go.
As soon as you can, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
At any point.
The invitation is always open for anyone, any of our listeners, no matter how big, small, just started in trials. And that's the kind of what we try and capture in those videos as well, is that it's not about the biggest rider. If you've got a good bail, if you go for something a bit out of your depth, that's all trials.
If you're on your bike smiling, I'm going to film you.
With your lid, with your helmet.
With your helmet on, of course.
Shin pad's optional. Obviously, you know our stance.
Which does lead us on to a couple of the questions I've been meaning to ask, Jonas. We won't think any less of you, but do you wear shin pads when you train?
No.
I didn't think so. I was thinking that. I was like, he's one of those that doesn't. Which leads me on to another important one. We wanted to find out your shoe and pedal combination, and as to why you believe or why you run those combinations.
Yeah, I'm using the grip shoes at the moment.
This is what Charlie and Carthy use, those grip shoes.
Yeah, and like basically the Tri-Light cage pedals.
He's a cage man. That answers one question. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you find them? Do you find that you've had many shindigs through that? Which we'll get onto your worst shindig shortly.
Like now, when I'm gonna say this, I'm definitely having a shindig later. I haven't had a shindig, like a proper shindig, for a really long time.
No, that's okay. Touch wood. It's fine.
I'll be hovering over the email inbox for the next week.
I mean, it is the one thing without fail that I've noticed. Somebody's riding their bike, you know, they'll instantly cut them, and it's cool because they're like, "Oh God, I've got to go and send this." And there's like an element of
it's like a double thing, isn't it? It's like, this sucks, but I've got something.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, because obviously my view is you will never avoid a shindig.
Yeah.
Okay?
It doesn't matter how
it's
good
inevitable.
you are. Yeah.
It's inevitable. You know, you got to, it's just like even any accident is going to happen eventually. But the point being, like, more so trying to look at that in a positive way, which is when it does happen, that sucks. Don't get me wrong. You know, you might be upset. It might ruin you for the rest of the day. But get to the point where you're like, well, actually, if I send this picture to the shindig, it's going to get shared with everyone else. It's like a trophy.
Yeah.
Leaderboard.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should have a leaderboard.
Yeah, best shinner of the year wins.
I mean, I've like secretly do it in the back of my mind, like, you know, Shindig King of the year. So
we're not encouraging people to go do this.
Yeah, actually, please, not encouraging people to go out and someone just goes and cuts their shin to be part of it. That would be brutal.
So you don't really get them, but yeah. What?
Yeah.
But anyway, so a grip and cage tri-light combination. Now, this is what I'm saying. That's quite a grippy combination. You would know. I find cages a little bit more grippy than platforms.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't use cages. I use platforms for that reason. Because they're inevitable, I like to be able to move my foot a little bit and correct it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because you don't want to be like clipped in, do you?
Yeah, no, not at all. Like, especially like for like some balance kind of line, like if you're just completely stuck, it's just gonna like ruin the line for you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's just having that little bit of I don't want to use the words. It's like leverage, just to correct yourself, because otherwise we would be clipped in and we wouldn't be, you know, doing it that way.
So with that in mind, then, what has been your worst shindig? Was it of recent note, or was it when you were starting out?
I think it was when I was like starting out. I think because I remember I think it looked like one shindig, but it happened over 3 different crashes of that day.
It was like renewing the dig.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I just remember that I had like for 3 months, I think, like kept opening like the new wound, you know, because I was like, no, I'm definitely not getting like stitches or anything, but I should have got stitches, that for sure. Jeez. Like, so yeah, it was bad, but I haven't really had any really bad one for really a long time.
I mean, just
we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Just don't ruin that in that manner, because obviously, of course, you riding. The more you ride, the more likely it is going to happen.
He rides a lot more than us, and
I know, or just consistency. And I know we touched briefly on it beforehand, but I just wanted you to be a bit clearer for the listeners. You and Thomas Pethacker are actually working on like an actual regime in terms of training for trials. So like you were saying, and it's very detailed. Could you go into a little bit, that's not you working on it for other people? Is that primarily just for you two, or where is this going to go for the future?
Well, first of all, like primarily working on it at the moment is Carol Servin and Thomas Pethacker. They're like kind of the like minds behind it, if you want to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically it's we just want to or try to make training for trials a bit more professional.
Yeah.
Because I remember for a long time when I started writing, like if I did anything before started writing, like any kind of warm-up, just like for that part of it, everyone would be looking at me like, what the hell is he doing? Like swinging his arm and doing air squats before going on the bike, just like that part of it was like no one else than me were doing it in Denmark, for example. And also I think this is, Carol is educated like a physical trainer. So it's this science kind of way to approaching training that has maybe not been quite common in professional trials. For
definitely
a really
not been
long
explored
time.
enough, I must say.
No, exactly. So I would say like I'm not quite sure about it, but I think we kind of brought this, or at least we were part of bringing this like more structured way of training, both on and off the bike, into like the professional trials community. And we just want to like make that normal,
Like, accessible.
I was going to say, does that include off the bike? Because sometimes, like when we go to the gym or work out, it's just like, well, should I do squats? But then if I do squats, then my legs will get. But then I'm not agile on the bike. But then should I go running? But then if I go running, then it's knowing exactly, and like say from someone who actually has the scientific knowledge, the background.
Exactly. Like Carol always says, like the primary reason of what we do in gym should be for like health. Health. So you have to be able to, like, you're not going into the gym with one like goal, and that is to be able to jump higher. Because if you will be able to jump higher for 2 years, but then afterwards you can't walk anymore, like then it doesn't really work. So like the primary reason is to be healthy, because if you're healthy, you can train more on the bike, which
all round is improved.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, you can get into like more specific training for either power or like endurance or whatever on the bike.
Well, I think what's really good about this, what you guys are working on now, the key word there for me is accessibility. Now, like you and Thomas have got, you're being given that regime and saying like, this is how you could train this, that, and the other. But there never has been something simple for any of us. Like, what if I just wanted to go online and access some online course or like a training for trials?
Like specifically, because you can get stuff like for snowboarding, I've seen like that, which obviously a lot more twisting movements, more ab stuff and that, but I never really know what is best for, I know how to train, but I don't know what's best for trials.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no, what I'm trying to say, that there isn't really a wrong or right answer. I mean, maybe there is, but what I'm saying is we haven't been, as in the trials community might not necessarily have been educated in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And that is what we want to change,
Well, and seal of approval, it's got the stamp on it, but like 3 of like the top riders in the world.
It's all, I'm sure, bringing him up again, like I know Dre said it a few times, he's like, I want to create like a PT program and he would be amazing for it. Purely time. That guy has another full-time job doing that, so he hasn't got the ability to do that, and he obviously knows what to train to improve. So I think it's just like getting yourself, Pethacker, Dre, and some of the bigger people who have trained seriously their whole lives for it, just like bang heads and go, this is how to focus. Because for me and Tom, all I know how to get better is actually just to ride the bike.
Yeah, that's number one for me. Is that
it is? I'm sure that is still number one. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure you guys are like, you want to get better on the bike? No, don't go to the gym. Get on your bike.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm quite looking forward to that. And
well,
then,
I quite like how you mentioned about like the warm up and the stretching beforehand.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I try, but I sometimes feel like, oh, if I'm warming up, and people are going to look at me and think like, oh, he's going to be pushing out some big moves. Like I feel like it's more appropriate for you to do it because you're like good. But when I do it, it's like no, like I drive for a living. Like 90% of my time I'm spent sat down. So I go out on the bike. I don't want to like, injure myself. That's primarily why I do it. Like injury.
Exactly. So that probably is like the main reason for you that you should do it.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like more
sitting down all day. Like if you just straight go on the bike and like do your maximum jump, like the risk of getting injury is really high.
It's massive, yeah. So I definitely think if more people were definitely encouraged in that way, it won't look as.
It's just not the norm. Like even someone sees me stretching and be like, "Professional now, are we?" What do you mean professional?
Like,
my body is just a human body. Like it needs to be stretched.
I think that comes back to exactly what you said. Is like health first of all, and that is that you can jump bigger, you can do all these advantage things, but if you're not actually looking at the bigger picture. Of health, then what's it all worth?
Your diet, drinking enough, eating enough, all of these things play a factor into everything you do in your life. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm loving that sound though, Jonas. I'm quite looking forward to.
I'm very excited
to see how that, and we absolutely want to back that as much as we can. And anyone else that wants to contribute for Jonas, obviously this rate is probably brought Thomas Peckhacker higher up our list for the podcast. He's been quite a topic of conversation today. So hi Thomas, how's it going? But amazing, and I'm wishing you all the best with that, Jonas. And I hope that we can maybe become like the future standard of training. These are the stretches you should do.
But this is another thing that it's not supposed to just be an elite thing or an athlete thing. It is supposed to be like, if you want advice or whatever kind of training help, you should be able to get it also, even if you're not competing, like just for if you want to improve your riding, like as an motionist or whatever you would call it.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't got it already, because it's like trials is one of those really quite niche technique focused sports that we do like to look at the detail and obsess about how smooth, how precise you can be. And yet no one's really done it. Trash Zen was the main one.
Do you know what? I also believe it's that factor of a magician never reveals his secrets. I know that sounds crazy, but I think there might be an element of, the top riders being like, well, I'm doing this training. Do I want to share that with everyone? Do you? I mean, they should. I'm not saying it's all like that, but do you understand?
Yeah, I'm trying to draw parallels to it. Like, you won't get boxers, but like, oh, this is my training regime. Like,
or they just maybe they. I might be wrong. Maybe they don't want to share that. Be like, oh, that's my secret. That's how I side up 150.
I get what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but really, there's no secret. Training is training.
Put the time in.
Putting the time in and eating. And same thing for like diet. Like I'm sure that plays an element with trials, and I don't remember ever there seeing a training regime that tells you the exercises and the food to eat. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that won't change much in an exercise diet, but deep down, if someone who's riding for trials is being told...
there were small wins, it all adds on top of it, I suppose, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Like, it's those last, like, couple of percentages, that could change if you, like, let's say if you win or not, like, if it's in that end of the scale.
Yeah. Oh, well, just thought of another one. So, because Rick Cuckoo, I should say, he holds the record for the biggest side up over a bar, right?
Yeah.
He has held that. Now, I know that to train for that, he used to have a frame and forks padded up and bars in the gym, and he would stretch whilst holding the bike and like cramp against it, practice where his body movements were and all of that. So that's what, just remember being like, could that be the future side of training? A side up squat bike.
Yeah, like a frame and like fork.
Have you done anything like that before, Jonas?
Nah, not really, no. But I don't know. It should be maybe experimented with, but I think also sometimes it's not necessarily too like kind of specific, if you know what I mean. Like in the gym, there needs to be like some kind of unspecificity to your workout. Otherwise you could just as well do it on the bike, if you know what I mean.
You might as well just go and ride your bike. I understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's when getting that balance is important of those elements. Being like, well, this is good for my health.
Yeah.
So with all this training in mind, obviously this focus that you have, you must be quite excited for this year, because this year is we've got some dates in the calendar with the World Cups coming back.
Yeah.
How is your life looking now? And can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the World Cup?
Yeah, well, as I said, I just now, like basically 2 days ago, came back from Spain, where I had my first international competition for like since COVID, since 2019. And I definitely feel that I have not been really competing for those 2 years. So I think for me, but generally my feeling and my level feels quite good. Like I feel on a nice level. I just need that, to get into that zone of competition mindset, like to really, because as I said, the level is just so high. So if you want to be in the top, there's just not room for these like small mistakes that you can make if you're not like in that zone or mode. So I think for me, it's the next couple of time is just going to be trying to get like do competitions before the World Cup. So to get some, like get in that mode, get some
get practice in essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel that the leaderboards and the riders is going to be different now this year, because there's like a 2-year gap?
Yeah, a lot has changed.
Do you think we're going to see some others come through and be like, wow, they've been training, they haven't? What are your thoughts on that?
Like, I think it's at least it's going to be quite interesting to see if there are going to be any of the like junior riders or like new junior riders who now are allowed to ride in the World Cup, because there are always some young kids, I would say, who suddenly just suddenly they're just there and they are amazing levels.
That is the best way to put it. Yeah, suddenly they're just there and smashing it.
Well, Adam Allworth for one, he was junior beforehand. We've had him on the podcast.
Wait for Ollie Waitman to come through, who suddenly he was doing elite gates yesterday, and and he's only 16 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, there's still those new fresh riders coming through.
Like what I would say is that I don't think the names is going to be that much difference. Like in the top, it's just going to be more names and like probably even harder, like a bigger range of people who could make it, like for example, to the final, like top 6.
Yeah, it would be
Which
be
is
nice.
what's really interesting to see, because then it does make that more dynamic. It's more interesting to watch. It's just not the same old names, and like it's a good range of people that are in that run-in.
Yeah. And I think that's a really I remember years like before I was riding World Cups myself, it was basically the same 8 people in the final. And now it's like you never know who's going to be in the final. It can be everyone, especially in the 20-inch category. I would say like anyone from like number 1 to like 20 on the ranking can go through as top 6.
Did you feel that those rankings changed when the pointing system took a flip and changed, or has that sort of stayed the same? What do you feel in those?
That's actually a good question. I think I have gotten like slightly closer,
Everyone's gotten closer, you mean?
Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah.
So
it's a tighter game.
Yeah,
tighter
exactly.
race. Sorry.
Okay. And maybe more fair, because sometimes there were people who made like 4 or 5s in a lap, but actually they just like missed this little to go out the last gate, So I think it's just more like reflecting how the actual level of the riders are.
That's good. That means it's definitely had a positive effect on the scoring itself. I've only had one experience of it, and I think it is a better way of doing it. People are rewarded more.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
and get rewarded for falling off too. If you fall off through the gate, as we said earlier. But No, I think we've kept you probably long enough, Jonas. I know you're a busy man and you've got some studying and so forth to do. I think there's a couple of questions to round up with here. First one, I'll ask this one quickly. Who would you like to see on the podcast? We think we know the answer, but we've got to ask.
Well, I will say two people then.
Yes.
First, Thomas Pekkaker.
Yeah.
And I would say definitely Carl Selvin also, because he could really give a great insight in what we are doing with the life cycle trials.
Yeah, that
might be a really interesting one. I know some of the listeners there who are interested in the training side of things. I know it's definitely something I personally want to know more about. I would like to have a better understanding. So getting a trials rider and I almost said a scientist, a sports scientist, to bang heads together and come up with the ultimate.
Because you see, especially with a lot of foreign riders, we don't ride with them all the time. You just see the results, and you're like, well, how did you get that? I mean, you used to see people like TRA, is always in the gym, and doing stuff. So you're like, well, what else is going on? It's really nice to.
I like that idea of you saying about like a stretch would be the norm. Like people would see you going, he's warming up to ride.
Yeah,
not like,
exactly.
he must be good because he's stretching. Because that's why like other people will just be like, I'm not going to stretch because, like you were saying, this element of pressure to be like, he must be good. You're like, no, just looking after my body.
Like my body.
And I want to be able to do this when I'm 30 odd.
Yeah.
And the last question.
Yeah. What? Just one final message for all of the listeners, trials riders, future trials riders. Impart your knowledge.
Anything
Jonas.
to your fans.
Yeah, well, everyone could say, like, remember to have fun. I guess that's like the thing to say. But I would also say, like, don't be afraid to like learn from someone who's better than you. That for me is definitely a big part of my writing, because I feel like I develop myself more if I'm able to like take advice from people who are better than me. I think that's for me like a huge advice, at least.
No, that's a really good message.
I want to add to that. I mean, you probably have a good experience with this as well. Is that most people who are we've got a pretty small sport, but most people at the top are pretty humbled and will be willing to help out if you ask.
Exactly.
Even if you're right at the bottom, even if you're at some of these like big rides, competition, well, maybe not in competition because they might be riding themselves, but like
in the middle of a section, hey, help me.
After the comp,
actually, that's not even a lie. Like sometimes you see, like I would say, especially me, Thomas, and the guys, like we could talk during the competition. Man, that rock over there, how did you actually do it?
Yeah,
that happened. Like,
that so if anyone wants just, that looks, just a certain gate, be like, that looks really hard. How would you get up that? Mate, this is what I might try. Say Charlie Rolls is riding elite, but I'm doing expert. We're like, Charlie, mate, how do you think I should get up that? He goes, do you not see this? Put your front wheel there, and then I go, oh my god.
Yeah, it makes
so. Really important message. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I just want to say most people in trials are pretty approachable. I've never come across anyone who isn't. So that's what I love about this sport, really.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good point, man. Really, really good point. And Jonas, thank you so much for
thank you again for your time and coming along,
chatting with us.
Yeah, sure.
It was really nice to catch up with you again. It's been some time, and hopefully we will see you this year, perhaps. I'm trying to get to the Worlds in Poland. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah.
Are you heading that way?
Sure.
Of course.
So he's like, hey, I got things to win. I got places to be and
so
positions
come to
to
the
be.
World Rounds. Jonas is going to be there. Salzburg, Poland, and France, isn't it?
France,
yeah.
And of course, you can find Jonas on the wonderful socials of the medias. Is it Trial Action Jonas?
Yes, exactly.
Trial Action Jonas on Instagram. Make sure you give him a follow. Regularly putting up clips of his training and his wonderful. Yeah. Check out his wonderful Maestro bike.
We are Shin Dig Media, so you can find us at shindigmedia.com. That has links to all of our YouTube podcasts and merchandise as well.
Please make sure you guys do a 5-star review on the Apple podcast.
I suppose any review.
Any
platform
review
works.
Yeah, do you know what? Go on Google.
If you haven't got any money to buy our bits and stuff, that doesn't matter. It still helps out if you just give us a nice, honest review if you find this podcast good and fun. So we release these podcasts every single Friday and some semi-regular video content, but we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks again, Jonas. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.